Welcome everyone. Let us take the chapter ahead now. In this second part, we read that Richard H. Ebright was the only child who was living in a town named Reading with his mother in Pennsylvania. Since he was the only child and he had lost his father at a very tender age, he did not have much friends because the place where they used to live, it was not too much crowded. Mother was his only companion and she was very encouraging. She has a very vital role to play in his life and help him become such a great scientist. We read then that Bright started collecting various sorts of things. He started collecting butterflies and fossils and rocks and other things. Then, when he was in class third, his mother presented him with a book. The title of the book was The Travels of Monarch 10. And at the end of the book, Professor Ukuhart from Toronto, Canada University, had requested whoever catches a monarch butterfly to tag it and further collect the tags and send them to him so that he could take his study of monarch butterflies further. So Ebright did the same. He started collecting monarch butterflies and he started tagging them. I showed you how does a tag look in the previous lesson. Now let us go further. Ebright had been always curious to learn new things and had a sharp mind. His mother used to encourage him to learn. She used to take him on learning trips and buy telescope, camera, other sorts of instruments. His mother would get sometime his friends home because that was such a lonely place where not many people were living. He and his mother used to stay together at night and they used to stargaze. They used to look at the stars in the night. When he read that book and started tagging the butterflies, anyone who found a tagged butterfly was asked to send the tag to Dr. Ukuhart. The butterfly collecting season around Reading lasts 6 weeks in late summer. So, Ebright tells us if you are going to chase them one by one, you won't catch very many because he had been doing this for so many years and now he was started getting tired of catching the butterflies and not getting any positive result. So the next step for Ebright was to raise a flock of butterflies. He thought of why not to raise so many butterflies at his own place. So he would catch a female monarch, take her eggs and raise them in his basement through their life cycle from egg to caterpillar to pupa and to adult butterfly. Then he would tag the butterfly wings and let them go. This is the same repetition through the summary so that the learning of the chapter may strengthen in your mind. That's why I have written it again here. When he was doing this, tagging the butterfly on their wings and leaving them and catching them, he got a hint of what real science is when he entered a county science fair, but he lost at that time. He said it was sad feeling for him to sit there and not get any award or any prize while everybody else was winning something or another. Ebright said his entry was slides of frog tissues, which he showed under a microscope. He realized that winners had tried to do real experiments. It was not that something you already had read in a book in your science subject and you did the same thing. Because those who got any prize or any award, they had gone ahead with their own research and experiments. That's why they won. So he decided that for the next year, he will do something extraordinary than others. So he asked Dr. Ukuhart for suggestions, and in return, he got a stack of suggestions. Not only one suggestion, he got a stack of suggestions. When he was now in 8th grade, he tried to find the cause of a viral disease that kills nearly all monarch caterpillars every few years. Ebright thought the disease might be carried by a beetle. So he rose caterpillars in the presence of beetles so as to ensure if whatever other scientists had up till now reached to the conclusion that in the presence of beetle the caterpillars of the monarchs they were dying, he tried to raise them in the presence of the beetles, but he did not get any real result. But he did not give up. He went ahead and showed that he had tried the experiment. The next year, his science fair project was testing the theory that monarch butterflies, viceroy butterflies copy monarchs. These two are different species of butterflies, viceroy and monarch. The theory was, up till now, what was believed, that viceroy butterflies, they almost look similar to the monarchs, because and the viceroy butterflies, they used to imitate monarch butterflies. They used to camouflage themselves as monarch butterflies, because monarchs don't taste good to birds. There is a bird, starbird, who normally eats monarch butterflies, it was believed earlier. And see, everyone has an instinct to live. There is a survival instinct in every living creature. So was there in the viceroy butterfly. Being so fragile and so delicate and so small, yet they understood that they had to survive somehow. So what did the viceroy butterfly used to do? They used to imitate the pattern of monarch butterflies, so that they were not eaten by the birds. But what happened? Viceroy, on the other hand, do taste good to the birds. So more they look like monarch, the less was the possibility that any bird would be eating them. Ebright's project was to see whether in fact birds would eat monarchs. He found that a starling, the bird I was telling you, the starling would not eat ordinary bird food, it would eat all the monarchs it could get. But later on, Ebright said, later research by other people showed that viceroys probably do copy the monarchs. This project was placed first in the zoology division and third overall in the county science fair. You can see here, these are two different species of butterflies. For a layman, they almost look similar without much of the difference. But when we look closely at them, only then we find out what is the difference of the lines that form a pattern on their wings. That is the only difference. Otherwise, the color and everything else looks almost similar. So the viceroy butterfly, they used to imitate the monarch butterflies so that they could not be eaten by the birds. In his second year in high school, Richard Ebright began the research that led to his discovery of an unknown insect hormone. Because now his interest was gaining momentum, and he further kept on researching about other aspects. Indirectly, it also led to his new theory on the life of cells. The question he tried to answer was simple: what is the purpose of 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa? When monarch in its life process cycle was in the stage of a pupa, some 12, exactly 12 number of gold spots could be seen on the body of that monarch pupa. So he was curious enough to know what is the purpose of these 12 tiny gold spots on a monarch pupa. Everyone assumed the spots were just ornamental, because nature beautifies the creatures by adorning them with beautiful patterns. Ebright also thought so, but Dr. Okuha did not believe it. So to find the answer, Ebright and another excellent science students first had to build a device that showed that the spots were producing a hormone necessary for the butterfly's full development. It was all due to Ebright and his friends' contribution that they could come to this conclusion that those gold spots, they were not ornamental at all. Rather, these spots, they were producing some hormone that helped a butterfly to become a fully developed butterfly. This project won Ebright first place in the county fair and entry into the International Science and Engineering Fair. There he won third prize for zoology. He also got a chance to work during the summer at the entomology laboratory of the Walter Reed Army Institute of Research, which was a very prestigious research institute. Not many people got a chance and opportunity to go and work there. As a high school junior, Richard Ebright continued his advanced experiments on the monarch pupa. That year, his project won first place at the International Science Fair and gave him another chance to work in the Army laboratory during the summer. This is the butterfly. The gold spots you can see when the butterfly becomes fully developed. So he was working on it. His new theory, which was about the cell life, the idea came to him when he was looking at the X-ray photos of the chemical structure of the hormone. He did not get excited about his discovery as soon as he found it, but he realized that his years of study on the insect hormone had solved one of the puzzles of biology. It had solved the mystery of how cells read the blueprint of its DNA. He found that as the DNA is in the nucleus of a cell that controls heredity, therefore it determines the form and function of a cell. Hence, DNA is the blueprint of life. You need to remember these key points which I am trying to give you in every paragraph, because while making these video lessons there is a limitation of time and space, so not each and every single line from the text can be given here. That's why I normally focus on the major important aspects. In the next lesson we'll take the lesson further. Till then, keep reading.